This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather Ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to yet another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, March the 9th, is an actor who used to play for Seattle in the NFL. He was a two-time All-American in college and won the Dick Buckus Award for top college linebacker twice. He was in the College Football Hall of Fame in 2015, but he will probably never be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame because of how bad his pro career was. He is Brian Bosworth, who's now 57 years old. The Boz, as he was known for, played for Oklahoma for 3 seasons and was good in all that in his sophomore and junior years. Unfortunately, he could not play in the famous Orange Bowl game between Miami and Oklahoma for the 1985-86 championship because he tested positive for steroids. He said that his use of steroids was because his doctor prescribed it because of his injuries. He was a good tackler and all that. One of the best college football players of all time. All that. Unfortunately, in college, he got in a lot of problems and all that. He was known for his hairstyles and criticism of the NCAA and all that. And he was mad that the NCAA had control over athletes not making money during their college careers. He was not allowed to play in the 1987 Orange Bowl. I got that wrong. 86-87 Orange Bowl. During the third quarter of that game, Bosworth pulled off his football jersey to reveal a t-shirt that said NCAA National Communists Against Athletes. It's weird. Like Bosworth was allowed to be on the sidelines and all that. But the TV cameras immediately picked it up. And people in Oklahoma were pissed off and all that. Barry Switzer did dismiss Bosworth from the team, even though that Bosworth was probably going to be in the NFL draft. Bosworth had a feature in Sports Illustrated's 1986 fall football issue, saying that at a summer job at GM's Oklahoma City plant, co-workers taught him how to insert the bolts in hard-to-reach places so that it would rattle. And he said that each bolt carried a note that said, "Aha, you found me," and all that. Bosworth got a lot of problems and all that. Anyway, Bosworth did write an autobiography in 1988, which was weird. Bosworth said that the Sooner football program was later with drug use, gunplay in the athletic dorm, and wild behavior and all that. However, many Oklahoma fans said that it was just the rantings of a resentful ex-player. But the NCAA report proves that Bosworth was right the whole time, and Switzer was forced to resign. Anyway, in the NFL draft, Bosworth decided to plan his college coursework so that he could graduate a year early, which meant he could be in the NFL draft a year early. And it would give him some leverage, all that. Bosworth did send letters to various teams saying that if they drafted him, he wouldn't return to their training camp, all that. As a joke, the Tacoma Stars actually made him a draft pick, saying that because we didn't get a letter from him, he wouldn't play. That he wouldn't play for us. Like, that's why they drafted him. Bosworth said he wanted to play for the LA Raiders and all that. But because of the t-shirt incident, Bosworth did lose his leverage in controlling. So anyway, Seattle would end up drafting him in the supplemental draft. Basically, you could forfeit a first-round pick to get in the supplemental draft, guys who weren't drafted at the time. The supplemental draft doesn't make sense and all that. However, Seattle signed him to the biggest rookie contract and biggest contract in Seahawks history, 10 years for $11 million. Not per year, but $1.1 million per year. Bosworth wanted to be 44 in the NFL, but unfortunately the numbering system at that time said that linebackers were the 50s and all that. Bosworth was angry, but he had to wear 55. But the linebackers were allowed to wear numbers in the 40s in 2015. Anyway, Bosworth signed with the Seattle team that couldn't make the playoffs. So he played 12 years in his rookie season. He was good and all of that. His personality was basically his downfall in a sense. Bosworth trash talked John Elway before the first game of the season against the Broncos, and 10,000 Denver fans wore $15 T-shirts saying, "What's a Bosworth worth? What's a boss worth? Nothing." But Bosworth Company actually manufactured the shirt, so they got 10,000 Denver fans to pay for that. So that was $150,000 down the drain. Later that season, prior to the Seahawks matchup with the Raiders, Bosworth said he was going to contain Bo Jackson on Monday Night Football at home at the Kingdom against Bo Jackson. Unfortunately, Jackson inside the 5-yard line the first time, got the handoff and powered through Bosworth's attempted tackle to score the touchdown. And then, of course, Bosworth was burned by Bo Jackson on Jackson's famous long touchdown run, which he disappeared down the tunnel at the Kingdom. Jackson's 3 touchdowns, 221 rushing yards got the Raiders a 37-14 win and basically made Bosworth a fool. Bosworth was unfortunately forced to retire after only 2 seasons because of his shoulder injury and all that. Brian was a 25-year-old with the shoulders of a 60-year-old. He flunked my physical. Bosworth actually got a $7 million lawsuit against Lloyd's of London and all that. Lloyd's position was that Bosworth's shoulder was injured as a result of degenerative arthritis, which was not covered in his policy. So anyway, Bosworth was just a bad person. He only had 2 seasons in the NFL. He was a gigantic flop, although he got to the College Football Hall of Fame in 2015. But Bosworth decided to pursue a career as an actor. He was in the action film Stone Cold and starred in several low-budget titles that went straight to DVD. He was actually one of the prison guard football players in The Longest Yard in 2005. And he was actually in a show called Lawless that was for Fox, which was canceled after 1 episode. Bosworth would be an XFL color commentator and all that. He was given a college football studio analyst job for Saturday Night for TBS, where he would be with Ernie Johnson. Bosworth's been a judge on Chopped for many years. He was a dining guest in Hell's Kitchen in 2010. He was in a Dish Network commercial with Matt Leinart and Hugh Schuler, where they pined for a chance to return to their more successful college days. So anyway, Bosworth married his high school girlfriend in '93 and have 3 children before divorcing. He has 2 nephews who played for UCLA and signed as undrafted free agents by Jacksonville and Detroit. Anyway, the ESPN 30 for 30 came out in 2014, in which he was the subject of one, Brian and the Boss, about Brian's rise and fall as an athlete and all that. Bosworth takes his son Max to a storage facility in Austin, Texas, where he rented a locker filled with personal belongings for his football career. And special attention is paid to the T-shirt that got Bosworth kicked off the Oklahoma football team. And all that. Anyway, yeah. Jim Ross was even in it. He's an Oklahoma guy. So yeah, he was in Stone Cold, One Man's Justice, Back in Business, 3 Kings, Mark II, The Longest Yard, and a few other things. But yeah, he was more for being an actor than a football player. I mean, you had 2 years, you're a great college linebacker, and yet you fall flat and Bo Jackson embarrasses you? Well, Bo Jackson embarrassed a lot of people, especially on Tecmo, but in real life, he got embarrassed. He got stone cold, if I may say so myself. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.